25 hertz. That is where it starts. 25 cycles per second of mechanical vibration produced by the rapid successive contraction and relaxation of the laryngeal muscles of a small carnivore that your ancestors domesticated approximately 10,000 years ago to keep grain stores free of rodents. Not for companionship, not for comfort, for pest control. The emotional relationship came later, or perhaps it was always there and the grain storage was the excuse. The archaeological record does not settle the question. What the archaeological record does tell us is that the relationship is old enough and close enough and reciprocally reinforcing enough that something happened between cats and humans that goes beyond domestication in the conventional sense. Something biological. Something that operates in your body right now while you sit here, in ways that have nothing to do with whether you consider yourself a cat person. 25 hertz. Let me tell you what that frequency does to human tissue. Vibroacoustic therapy is a clinical intervention used in physiotherapy, palliative care, and rehabilitation medicine. It delivers low-frequency sound vibration, typically between 20 and 150 hertz, directly to the body through mattresses, chairs, or handheld devices. The research on its effects is not fringe. It has been replicated across enough contexts to produce genuine clinical interest. At frequencies between 25 and 50 hertz, bone tissue shows measurably increased osteoblast activity. The cells responsible for bone formation and repair become more active. At frequencies between 35 and 50 hertz, studies show reduced inflammation markers in joint tissue. At frequencies between 25 and 100 hertz, soft tissue repair processes accelerate, likely through mechanotransduction, the process by which physical vibration is converted into cellular biochemical signals. The therapeutic window for these effects sits, with remarkable precision, between 25 and 150 hertz. A domestic cat's purr sits between 25 and 150 hertz. This is either a coincidence of extraordinary proportions, or it is evidence that 10,000 years of living in close proximity to human bodies has shaped the purr frequency toward something that the human nervous system finds not just pleasant, but genuinely therapeutic at the cellular level. The research cannot yet settle which. What the research can say is that the overlap is precise, the tissue effects are real, and the cat on your chest is vibrating at a frequency your bone and soft tissue are designed to respond to. But the purr is only the beginning of what is happening. Your skin contains 3 types of receptor relevant to what occurs when a cat lies on your body. Thermoreceptors respond to the thermal gradient between the cat's body surface, approximately 38 degrees Celsius, and your skin temperature. This sustained warmth input travels via the spinal cord to the hypothalamus, which regulates autonomic balance and shifts that balance incrementally toward parasympathetic dominance. The sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight apparatus, reduces its firing rate. Heart rate decreases. Peripheral vasodilation increases blood flow to the skin. Digestive activity resumes if it had been suppressed by stress. The body begins a recovery sequence that it runs whenever it receives the thermal signal that the environment is safe and warm. Mechanoreceptors respond to the weight and pressure of the animal body. 4 kilograms of distributed pressure across the chest and abdomen activates a specific subtype of mechanoreceptors, the same receptors targeted by weighted blankets, by deep pressure massage, by the practice of swaddling infants. These receptors, when stimulated at moderate sustained pressure, reduce sympathetic nervous system activity through a pathway that bypasses conscious processing entirely. You do not decide to relax. The pressure tells your nervous system to relax, and your nervous system complies. The effect is measurable in cortisol levels, in heart rate variability, in galvanic skin response. A 4-kilogram cat lying still on your body is delivering a continuous deep pressure stimulus that clinical interventions attempt to replicate with weighted devices. And then there are the C-tactile afferents, a class of unmyelinated nerve fibers in human skin that respond specifically to slow, gentle, sustained touch at skin temperature. These fibers do not process pain or sharp sensation. They exist apparently specifically to process the kind of touch associated with social bonding. They project directly to the insular cortex, which processes interoceptive signals and emotional salience, and they trigger oxytocin release from the hypothalamus. Oxytocin, the same molecule released during nursing, during orgasm, during sustained eye contact between mother and infant, is being released in your brain because a small furry animal is lying on your chest and its body is warm against your skin. The cat is not trying to produce this effect. The cat is doing what cats do, seeking warmth, seeking safety, seeking the elevated surface temperature that a human body provides. But the effect on your neurochemistry is real regardless of the cat's intentions. Your C-tactile afferents cannot tell the difference between a cat seeking warmth and a conspecific expressing affection. They register sustained warm contact, and they trigger the bonding neurochemistry that sustained warm contact has always signaled in the evolutionary history of your species. Now add the breathing. A resting cat breathes approximately 20 to 30 times per minute. A stressed human breathes approximately 15 to 20 times per minute, but with shallow, irregular rhythm that reflects sympathetic dominance. When you are lying still with a cat on your chest, something begins to happen to your breathing pattern that is not voluntary and that you probably have not noticed. It synchronizes. Not perfectly, not immediately, but over the course of several minutes, the rhythm of your breathing begins to entrain toward the rhythm of the animal's breathing. This is called physiological synchrony, and it occurs between humans in close proximity, between mothers and infants, between people who are emotionally attuned to each other. The mechanism involves the autonomic nervous system detecting rhythmic external signals and adjusting its own oscillations toward them, a process called entrainment that operates at the level of the brainstem, below conscious awareness. Your heart rate follows. Slower, more regular. Heart rate variability, the slight beat-to-beat variation in the timing of cardiac cycles that is one of the best physiological markers of autonomic health and stress resilience, increases. Your nervous system is borrowing the calm of another animal's resting physiology. You are not deciding to be calmer. You are being made calmer by a 4-kilogram animal whose nervous system is already in a state you are trying to reach. There is a study, often cited but rarely examined carefully, that followed cat owners over 20 years and found a 40% reduction in risk of cardiovascular events compared to non-cat owners. The authors were careful. They noted confounds, acknowledged that people who own cats may differ systematically from people who do not in ways that affect cardiovascular risk. The study cannot prove causation, but the biological mechanisms exist. The oxytocin pathway, the autonomic regulation through deep pressure and thermal contact, the breathing entrainment, the vibroacoustic effects on tissue, these are not speculative. They are documented mechanisms that operate every time the animal is on your body. The cat does not know any of this. The cat knows that you are warm, and that you are not moving, and that this is a good place to be. The cat's purr is not directed at you. It is self-regulation, The cat purring to manage its own nervous system, which it does when content and, interestingly, also when injured or stressed, suggesting that the purr is not a signal of positive emotion, but a self-generated therapeutic vibration that the cat deploys whenever its nervous system needs it. The cat is, in this sense, medicating itself with sound, and you are receiving the treatment second-hand. This is the part that I keep returning to. 10,000 years ago, somewhere in the Fertile Crescent, a wild cat moved toward a human settlement, not because it was tame, because the grain stores attracted rodents and the rodents attracted cats, and the proximity to humans was a cost worth paying for the reliable food source. Humans tolerated the cats because the cats reduced the rodent population. The relationship was transactional, ecological, accidental. Neither party designed it. Neither party understood what was beginning, and what began, over 10,000 years of proximity, was a relationship so embedded in mutual biology that the cat's self-soothing frequency now sits in the therapeutic range for human tissue. The cat's body temperature activates the human parasympathetic pathway. The cat's weight provides human deep pressure stimulation. The cat's breathing entrains human heart rate, and the sustained contact of the animal's fur against human skin triggers the neurochemistry of social bonding. You did not domesticate the cat. You co-evolved with it. And what you co-evolved toward was a relationship in which a small predator, resting on your chest, making a sound that evolved to regulate its own nervous system, is simultaneously regulating yours. The grain is long gone. The pest control arrangement dissolved into something else so gradually that nobody noticed it happening. What remained is an animal that fits, with suspicious precision, into the specific sensory and physiological gaps in the human nervous system: the thermal, the mechanical, the acoustic, the rhythmic, as though it was designed for them. It was not designed. Nothing in evolution is designed. It accumulated. 10,000 years of accumulated mutual proximity, selecting for the traits in cats that humans tolerated and rewarded, and selecting for the responses in humans that made the relationship self-reinforcing. The result sits on your chest on a Tuesday afternoon, purring at 25 hertz, and your cortisol is lower than it was 20 minutes ago. You did not need to do anything. You just needed to not move.